People ask me all the time. They stop me on the street, they write me letters, they send emails. They all want to know the same thing. How did you do it, Warren? How does a boy from Omaha, Nebraska, with no family connections, no special talent, and no lucky breaks, end up with $100 billion? And every single time I hear that question, I smile. Because the answer is not what they expect. It is not a secret stock tip. It is not some complicated financial formula. It is not timing the market or knowing the right people. The answer is 5 simple rules. 5 rules that I have followed my entire life. Rules so simple that most people hear them and think I'm joking. Rules so powerful that they turned $11 into $100 billion. Today, I want to share those 5 rules with you. Not because I want you to be rich, but because I want you to be free. Because there's a difference between being rich and being free. And most people spend their whole lives chasing the wrong one. So sit down, get comfortable, and listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you took me 90 years to fully understand. I know what you're thinking right now. Warren, that's impossible. Everyone loses money sometimes. And you're right, I have lost money, plenty of it. But this rule is not about being perfect. It's about having a mindset. Let me tell you about 1951. I was 21 years old, young, confident, maybe a little too confident. Proud. I had just finished studying under the great Benjamin Graham at Columbia University. I thought I knew everything. I thought I was ready. I found a company called Geico, an insurance company. I took the train to Washington, D.C. on a Saturday morning, knocked on their door, and somehow convinced a man named Lorimer Davidson to sit with me for 4 hours and explain the entire business model. I came home and I put 75% of my entire net worth into that one stock. 75%. My friends thought I had lost my mind. My family was worried. But I had done my homework. I understood what I owned. I knew exactly what I was buying. That's what rule number 1 really means. Never lose money means never invest in something you do not understand. Never put your money somewhere you cannot explain why it will grow. Never gamble with your future because someone told you to. Most people treat investing like a casino. They hear a hot tip at a dinner party, they see a stock going up on the news, they feel the excitement, the energy, the fear of missing out, and they jump in without understanding anything. And then they lose, and they blame the market. They blame bad luck. They blame everyone except themselves. But here's the truth. The market did not fail them. Their ignorance failed them. I have a simple test I call the newspaper test. Before I invest in anything, I ask myself one question. If this investment goes wrong and ends up on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow morning, will I be embarrassed by my decision-making process? Not embarrassed by the result, embarrassed by the process, because results you cannot control, but your process, your thinking, your homework, that's entirely in your hands. So rule number 1 is really this: do your homework, understand what you own, and never put your money somewhere you cannot defend. I bought my house in 1958, 5-room house in Omaha, Nebraska, $31,500, and I still live there today. People think I'm joking when I say that. They laugh. They say, "Warren, you're worth $100 billion. Why are you living in that old house?" And I always give them the same answer. Because I'm happy there. You see, the world has confused 2 things that have nothing to do with each other. The world has confused the size of your house with the size of your happiness, the brand of your car with the quality of your life, the label on your clothes with the value of your character. I've met people with private jets and empty souls. I've met people with old pickup trucks and beautiful lives. The stuff never made the difference. The mindset always did. When I was young, I made a decision. Smart, calculated. Every dollar I spent was a dollar I could not invest, and every dollar I invested was a dollar that could become $10, $20, $50 over time. So I treated every unnecessary purchase not as $5 or $50, but the future value of that money. If I saved $50 today and invested it wisely, that $50 could become $5,000 in 30 years. So I was not choosing between a nice dinner and $5,000. I was choosing between a nice dinner and $5,000. Once you start thinking like that, everything changes. Most people earn more and spend more. They get a raise and buy a bigger car. They get a bonus and book a more expensive vacation. And at the end of every month, no matter how much they earn, there is nothing left. They're running on a treadmill, moving fast but going nowhere. The richest people I know are not the ones with the most expensive things. They're the ones with the biggest gap between what they earn and what they spend. Slow, meaningful. That gap is where wealth lives. That gap is where freedom grows. Firm, closing. So rule number 2, live below your means, not because you're cheap, but because you're smart. In 1942, I was 11 years old. Proud of young self, I had saved $114 from delivering newspapers and selling chewing gum. $114 that took me years to save. Excited, young energy, I bought 3 shares of a company called Cities Service Preferred at $38 each. I checked the price every single day, and for a while it dropped. It went down to $27. I felt sick. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all those newspapers I delivered all those cold mornings, all that work, just to watch my money disappear. But I held on, and eventually it went back up to $40. I sold, made a small profit, felt relieved. Painful pause in tone. Regret. And then I watched it go to $200. Honest, confessing, that lesson cost me a fortune, not because I lost money, because I didn't have the patience to let it grow. Firm, important. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Albert Einstein said that. But I've lived it for 80 years, and I can tell you, he was right. Let me show you what I mean. If you invest $10,000 at 25 years old and never add another penny, but you earn 10% per year on average, by the time you're 65, you will have $452,000. You turned $10,000 into $452,000 without doing anything except waiting. Serious contrast. But if you wait until you're 45 to start, that same $10,000 grows to only $67,000. Emotional, urgent. You lost $385,000, not because you made a bad investment, but because you waited 20 years to start. Slow, powerful. Time is not money. Time is worth more than money, because money you can earn back. Time you never get back. Encouraging, urgent. Start today. Start with whatever you have. Start with $100 if that's all you have. Wise closing. Because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. In 1999, the whole world had gone crazy over technology stocks. Every day there was a new company with a crazy name and a stock price that made no sense. People were becoming millionaires overnight. Everyone was talking about it at dinner parties, at barber shops, on television. My friends called me. My investors called me. The newspapers wrote articles asking if Warren Buffett had lost his touch, if the old man from Omaha was finally out of ideas, if the world had changed and left me behind. And I did not buy a single technology stock. Not because I thought technology was bad, not because I wanted to be stubborn, but because I did not understand those businesses well enough to know what they were worth. I have a very simple rule. I call it my circle of competence. Inside that circle are the things I understand deeply. Consumer brands, insurance companies, banks, railroads, energy businesses, things I can study and understand and value with confidence. Outside that circle is everything else, and I do not go outside my circle, not for excitement, not for fear of missing out, not because everyone else is doing it. The technology bubble burst in 2000. Those overnight millionaires lost everything. Companies with billion-dollar valuations went to zero. People who had put their life savings into stocks they did not understand watched it all disappear. and Berkshire Hathaway was fine. The question you must ask before every investment is simple. Can I explain exactly how this company makes money? Can I explain why it will make more money in 10 years than it does today? Can I explain what could go wrong and why I'm comfortable with that risk? If you cannot answer those 3 questions, you should not invest. It is that simple. Your money is your future. Do not hand it to something you do not understand. Everyone wants to get rich quickly. I wanted to get rich slowly. And that difference right there, that single difference in mindset, that is the difference between most people and the people who actually build lasting wealth. I have held shares of Coca-Cola since 1988, 35 years. In those 35 years, the stock went up and it went down. There were recessions and pandemics and wars and financial crises. There were years when Coca-Cola looked like a bad investment. There were analysts who said the brand was dying. There were moments when I could have sold and cut my losses. I never sold. And that investment has returned me over 20 times what I paid for it. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. I did not say that as a clever quote. I said it because I have watched it happen for 80 years. When the market crashed in 2008, everyone was terrified. Banks were failing. The news was predicting the end of capitalism. People were selling everything they owned just to get out. I was buying. I wrote an op-ed in the New York Times in October 2008, right in the middle of the crisis, and I said, I am buying American stocks. Not because I thought the crisis was over, but because I knew that in 10 years America would be better off than it was that day. And I was right. The people who panicked and sold lost everything. The people who stayed patient made fortunes. Here's what I want you to understand about patience. Patience is not passive. Patience is not sitting around waiting and hoping. Patience is having the knowledge and the conviction to hold your position when everyone around you is losing their minds. Patience comes from understanding. When you truly understand what you own, then the short-term noise doesn't matter. You can sit calmly while everyone else is panicking because you know something they don't know. You know the long term. My favorite holding period is forever. Not 5 years, not 10 years, forever. So think in decades, not in days. Think in businesses, not in tickers. Think in value, not in price. So there you have it, 5 rules. 5 simple rules that I have followed my entire life. Never lose money, which means do your homework and understand what you own. Always live below your means because the gap between earning and spending is where wealth is born. Let your money work for you because compound interest rewards patience in ways that feel almost magical. Only invest in what you understand because your circle of competence is your greatest protection. And be patient and think long term because the market rewards those who can stay calm when everyone else cannot. These rules did not make me rich overnight. They made me rich over a lifetime, and that's a very different thing. Overnight wealth is fragile. It comes fast and leaves faster. Lifetime wealth is built on habits and principles and decisions made every single day when nobody's watching. I'm 93 years old. I still go to work every day, not because I have to, but because I love what I do, because I found something I was passionate about and I got very good at it and I never stopped learning. And that's the thing I want to leave you with today. More than the money rules, more than the investment strategies, find something you love, get very good at it, never stop learning, and be patient. The money will follow. It always follows the person who is doing the right things for the right reasons. Thank you for listening. And remember,
the best investment you'll ever make is still the one you make in yourself.